1312. What is it? How do we execute it? How do we do it? 1312 is a ZVZ opener. It's an extremely aggressive opener that most of the time, if it doesn't outright win you the game, will put you in an economic position where you are not exactly light years ahead, but you will be ahead. And from there, you can close it out however you choose. Again, the most common way that you win with 1312 is just outright winning the game with the attack. There are a lot of downfalls to it. It's incredibly micro intensive. You will only have one hatch production. And I mean, it's similar to a 12 pool, but it's a lot more committed because we're not expanding anytime soon. Because we're on one hatch production, we definitely need to, like I said, have our control down. Having our Ling Bane micro is incredibly important with how we're going to win the game. So without further ado, let's just go over the build really quick, and then we'll discuss the attack. Okay, so let's go over the build. It's called 1312 because we're making one drone. 13 is that one drone. It goes immediately into an extractor, and then we 12 pool. There's a few different methods on how to execute the build and how to do the build, but this is probably the most common one. So let's just go over it really quick. So again, one drone, rally it to the extractor. And we're going to take our overlord like we always do in ZVZ. We're just going to scout to make sure that there's an expansion, and then we can back it up. Drone pops, extractor, and now we're 12 pooling. So while we wait, you can get your APM spam in. And boom, 12 pool. Now we're just, at this point, the initial build order is the exact same as 12 pool. We're just going 3 drones into an overlord. As soon as our gas geyser finishes, we'll put 3 drones in immediately. And there, we're up to 14 supply. Now we make an overlord. Because our second overlord's actually not that late, you can send it directly. I mean, this is a weird map, but we can send it directly down the middle. If our second overlord's extremely delayed, if we're doing a weird cheese build or something like that, we can't actually send it right down the main, because as soon as a good Zerg player scouts that your second overlord's incredibly late, they'll know something's up. Okay, so as soon as the spawning pool finishes, our third larva will pop. We'll make our 6 lings, and we're getting ling speed. From here, we're pretty much just non-stop making lings. With our next 50 gas, we're going to pull 1 drone off of gas, and we're going to make a Baneling nest. As our lings pop, they're immediately going across the map. There's our 50 gas, 1 drone comes off, and we make a Baneling nest. Now we're going to go up to 19 supply. And then at 19 supply, now we can just take a quick second, since we don't even have any larvae available, and we're going to make a queen. And then we're actually going to make 1 more set of lings, and we're going to be supply blocked, and that is on purpose. And then at 22, what we're going to do is we're going to make an overlord. Now, obviously, this is versus an AI, and it's Terran. I just hit random. So that's the initial build. That's it. So it's not incredibly difficult to do, but let's talk about the attack. So with the execution, a build order is only half the battle. A build order, the only thing it's going to do is set you up for a specific attack or a specific route, whatever. But a build order only gets you there. The attack is much more important than the build order, because executing it poorly, even though you nailed the build order, means you'll still probably lose the game. So from behind, like as we're, attacking, all we need to do with our queen is just keep injects up, and we're just constantly reproducing lings. We're not really looking to expand yet. What we do is with our, it's going to be 6 initially, and then it's going to be 10, and then they're going to keep going. The attack goes something like this. Oh, fuck off, AI. We're going to run up with our lings. We're not making banelings yet. And we're going to attack the natural. Now, in lower leagues, you might just kill the natural. Awesome. But in higher leagues, what they're going to do is they're going to pull their drones. Now, because we're on 1 base production, we don't exactly want to lose these lings. if there's a situation that arrives where we can trade out our lings for a bunch of drone kills, do it. But we have to be very careful. We don't want to throw our wings away into a fight against a bunch of drones where we're just going to lose them and we only end up killing a couple drones. That's not worth it. So we really want to keep these lings alive as long as possible. And as soon as we're forced out, aka they pull their workers, they got a couple lings popping themselves, just back up. We don't need to lose them. Just save your lings. Oh no, we didn't kill the hatch? That's okay. We back up, then we just morph a handful of banelings. Nothing incredible. I mean, we've been talking this time, so I have a lot more gas, but normally you wouldn't have a ton of gas, but you have enough to make a couple banelings. But again, remember, we're on one hatch production. We don't actually have a ton of zerglings, so don't overcommit to the banes. So 4 is like a solid number. Now, they are aware that we've 12 pooled or something like that. They haven't seen ling speed finish, but it finishes much earlier than theirs. All of a sudden, we're coming back in. They're going to pull their workers. They'll have a bunch of lings, maybe a spines going. We show them the banelings, and everything backs up. From here, there's a lot of different ways we can win the game. We can either kill the hatchery, expand ourselves, and just be ahead. We can ignore the hatchery, go straight for the main, try and kill a bunch of drones with our banelings, and then constantly just keep producing lings and win that way. The world's your oyster. There is multiple win conditions, but let me reiterate that the point of 1312 is to be an aggressive opener where we either kill the opponent's natural, which is goal number 1, but if that's not a thing, or they slip up and give us an opportunity to kill all their drones, do that. Obviously, killing drones is much more important than killing the hatchery, but they're rarely going to let you. There's rarely going to be a situation where they're dumb enough to pull all of their workers, not have a good surround, and, you know, basically just send them in a funnel, and they're not all attacking at once, and our lings can just get a surround win. It's not going to happen a lot. So really, our goal is to kill the hatchery. Once we kill the hatchery, again, it's completely up to you. We can continue making lings and banes and try and win the game that way. But I will warn you that your control needs to be on point, because even though we've killed their hatchery, they are still ahead on drones, because we have 13 drones. That's it. So they've had, let's assume 19 drones at least, right? So they are ahead of us economically. So if we want to do that and we want to go for the throat, we just need to make sure our control's there, because they'll still have the money. They'll have the exact same production as us, but they'll have the money to be able to afford spines and queens and all of that. But if we do kill the hatchery and we do want to macro out of it, which is the more common option, don't get me wrong. Once we kill that hatchery, as soon as we know it's going to die, stop making lings and just start droning. Like, we can drone behind this a little bit, but we don't really want to risk it early on. We want to continue making lings until we know we're in a position where that hatchery is dead. Then we just pull one, we expand, don't get too cocky with it, and then we're going to drone. Now, rarely are you going to have an opponent that's going to sit back and just take that abuse and not try and counterattack, and they'll just say, oh, well, that's okay, I'll just expand. There's going to be a counterattack coming, because the units they made for the defense, as soon as they realize, hey, there's nothing I need to defend with these, they're going to go right across the map and try and kill you. So we do need to be aware, but all we need to do is go up to 19 drones. We have our expansion, and now we're suddenly on 2 bases versus their 1. We hold their counterattack, and now we're ahead. 1312 has a lot of complexity to it, and yet it's also incredibly simple. It's a weird anomaly in StarCraft. This is pretty much my go-to ZVZ build. It's a lot of people's go-to ZVZ build. Pretty much every professional Zerg player in a Zerg versus Zerg match has used it at one point in time or another. Dark is probably the one that comes to mind the most. He uses it a lot. If you look up a game, Dark versus any foreigner Zerg, doesn't matter who they are. Any foreigner Zerg, Dark just doesn't respect them. And he 13-12s them every time. 9 times out of 10, he wins. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk on 1312. There is a lot more complexity to it, and if you have questions, please shoot them in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything. I'm happy to go over any builds, any questions you have. Good luck, have fun, guys. Take care.